Hi guys, Ken from Miniature Wargaming Warriors, and I apologise for the little delay we had. Got Dom with us, boots on the table, and Liam's joining us 2 weeks in a row. Holy shit!
3?
Oh,
Three?
three.
Bloody
Oh, was it?
hell.
Yeah, it's my 3 weeks.
And
There
yes,
goes the viewing numbers.
yeah, yeah. There we go. See you later. It's a boiling hot Monday night. Not gonna lie, I am very hot, and I'm not standing up because I might be in my boxer shorts because it's absolutely baking in here. But
More information than we want to know. Thank you, Ken.
you'll never know. Well, how is everyone this evening?
Oh my god.
The
Oh,
question
tickety
is,
boo over here.
can you hear on Dom's channel?
That's the most important thing. Yeah. I have not changed a thing from last week, so it better work.
But we did have some technical issues.
Things
Things might have been pressed.
Buttons may have been touched that shouldn't have been touched. So let's hope. Buttons may have been touched. Although I don't want to talk about that with Ken wearing his boxer shorts.
Nothing on Dom's.
No.
You're freaking kidding
Did you
me.
save it last time?
Go to Dom's.
Is that a joke or what?
It's Leslie. It could be serious.
I think. Oh, Leslie's serious. Oh no. For God's
Yeah,
sake.
some technical issues.
We did have a few
Okay.
technical issues.
Oh no, hang on.
Buttons may have been touched
There is a little
that
bit.
shouldn't have
Yeah,
been
it's a
touched.
bit
So
quieter.
let's hope.
We were a bit quieter. Dom's quite loud.
Although I don't want to talk about wearing his boxer
Okay.
shorts. That's
Is
really
that what
not
it
what I
is?
want.
Okay, because I turned you guys down because on the other setting
You're
it's so high,
friggin'
so maybe I need to
kidding
turn that up
me.
a bit now.
Did you save
Because
it?
when we were trying Skype out, you were really, really loud.
Yeah.
Try and talk to me.
Oh dear.
There we
We
go.
will get a really smooth one day.
One day
One
A
day.
really
it'll be
smooth
smooth.
One day it'll be smooth.
Operator.
One day.
I do now. Ken looks like he's in a, I don't know, some pixelated
Yeah, I know,
hothouse.
yeah. He's actually got worse. His camera quality's got worse again.
Has it?
Yeah, so all of a
Yeah.
sudden it's yeah.
Has it?
You
Maybe,
know,
maybe it's
like,
when
I don't know
OBS
what,
is
yeah.
activated. 'Cause
No, I know what it
definitely
is.
clearer.
Well, Paul says he can hear us fantastically, so fantastic, Paul. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Paul.
I think you just
I
need
could
more
put my-
lights, Ken.
Yeah,
I think he needs much lighter lights. I could put my devil glasses on there and burn everybody.
Oh yeah.
Why did I do that?
Freaky.
Look at that. That's really weird.
Oh, when I first,
That's really weird.
I thought you said you were using a green screen when I first came on. I was like, is that the thing you do with a green screen? Them crazy eyes.
Crazy eyes. I don't know. Bloody weird.
It's a weird one.
Hey, Leslie's back, and he says he can hear it now. He had to reload, so there you go.
Excellent.
Oh, good.
Excellent. Everyone's
Let's
good.
get
Right, let's get
busy
cracking.
with this sizzle.
Right then,
Right, we're off and running. So,
you lead this week, Dom.
what you been working on then, Ken?
This week,
This week, what you been up to?
obviously I've done part 4 of the board build, which went quite
Yeah.
well. I was happy with it. It took me 2 days to edit, and I had PC troubles, which did not help at all. But that finally went up, and yeah, I'm quite happy with where I am with it. Still got a lot more to do. That took probably 3 or 4 days to actually just do all the filming for that. So hobby-wise, believe it or not, I've not actually got much done this week.
Blimey, I thought you were going to come on and claim you painted all your figures again.
No.
And you haven't, have you?
Well,
That's-
I've got a Stuart in front of me, which is from Rubicon. Built that, and I've also got a Pioneers half track.
Apparently, I should be scared
Oh,
of
so
that.
they turned up then, did they?
Yeah,
Brilliant.
they turned up. I also got a few little surprises come through the post. I ordered some Warhammer, like the original 6th edition rulebook. I'm still waiting for that. I got the Dwarf Codex, which is because I wanted to have a read of it. So, and I also
You got a lot of reading now.
yeah, I got
The
a lot.
books I gave you the other day.
Yeah, and the books Liam gave me the other day to have a read.
And the old world.
But I did have a very nice parcel turn up, Dom. Very nice parcel indeed.
You're going to annoy me again, aren't you? I know you are. I don't know. Why do I do these streams with you? You
I
just,
don't know.
Just annoying me.
You could have just
Is he on the?
Bloody annoy me.
you could have ignored. Basically, both of our subscribers now, Sean sent me some miniatures that he wasn't going to get around to painting. and he's asked me if I wanted to paint them up, and I said, yeah, that sounds good to me. So he sent me a load of Bretonians, so Bretonian archers. I think I got 20 of these, but he's also sent me loads of the Regiment of Renown from Warhammer Fantasy. So I'm not going to give away too much, but they're going to be videos because these are quite rare models. I'm going to be painting all these
Shout
up.
out to Sean.
Yeah, shout out to Sean massively. Thank you very much.
Is he on the
Sean.
live? He doesn't come on the live chats very often.
I haven't seen him on the live chat. So
No.
he came through one of the videos.
I think he
one of my
watches-
videos.
Yeah. I think he watches them.
My videos, he gets all the flipping stash. It's ridiculous. God, Jesus.
He watches them afterwards, I think, but
It's because he needs something to paint, Dom. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem.
He's not a true war gamer, and he
yeah.
needs something to paint.
everyone felt sorry. He felt sorry for me,
Unbelievable.
but basically they turned up like
Just
just
that pike.
primed like black.
That's a serious pike.
But
blimey.
this is one of the regiments of renown, so these are quite rare minis, and I'm really
I vaguely remember them being in loads of really old White Dwarfs.
Yeah,
but...
I'm very much looking. Well, they're on the painting desk at the minute. I'm very much looking forward to doing them, and a video will be coming of that. But actually completed mini-wise, Dom, this week, 2 miniatures. I've done actually 3. Tell a lie. I've done
disgusting.
What's
going on?
Yeah, I know. Sergeant Wilson. I don't know if my
This has become a Mickey Mouse channel. That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying.
isn't it? Poor turnout.
And I've done Fraser from the Dad's Army in their civilian colours. But that's it. That's all I've done this week because I've been too busy and I'm on.
Mind you, as Leslie just said in the chat, he said I wouldn't want them anyway. They're GW stuff. It's quite right. Quite right.
Yeah, but it's from the 90s.
Yeah.
It's nostalgia, Dom. It's nostalgia from the 90s. There's nothing wrong with it.
Nostalgia, mate.
Yeah.
Right. Apparently my volume's really loud now, so I'm going to turn that down. Sorry about that, folks. One day we'll get this right. Yeah. I'm blaming Ken for that one because he shocked me with his.
Oh yeah. I also.
Oh, there you go.
You can see above my head. I've got a light there now. I also picked up a load of lights from someone I knew when I used to work with them from ages ago. Picked up a load of lights for 50 quid. It was 6 lights, studio lights. So I picked up a load of those for the studio green screen and stuff as well. And yes, I did social distance. Before people start having a go at me.
I'm very pleased you did. Very pleased you did. So now you're going to be red hot from behind you and above you. Fantastic. Good job.
Yes, but you'll see a beautiful picture of my face.
Well, we can't because you're all pixelated again. So it's obviously burning out your camera.
Yeah, makes no sense when I'm pixelated. There we go.
What are you up to then, Liam? What have you been up to this week, mate? I bet you've been doing some proper painting, haven't you?
Well, got the old Rubicon delivery.
Oh, Katushka.
Yes. So, it's a bit of a sneak preview on some content I'm making. But yeah, and also I've got these little ones which I don't think I've ever seen them online like actually made, which is Timchenko and Zokov, the HQ choices from Rubicon. So I think they're about like £4, but the scale's a little bit off. I think it's probably true scale compared to the infantryman. Oh, can't really see it very well though. Because the light, I've got the light a bit closer to me tonight. But yes, he's much thinner. So, but I'm going to use him as a sort of major or a captain. So he'll be far off in the distance, commanding people.
Well, if he's an officer, he'll be sitting at the back, won't he? Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he'll be with the artillery, shout and fire at him. So get an extra dice.
How much were they, Liam? Price?
I think they're only £4.
It's good then, isn't it?
But they're
plastic as well.
Yes, plastic. Yeah, and it literally is just 2 arms and the body, and that's it, done.
Nice.
So, but they're really thin. I was surprised at the scale because it does say 28 mil. So, but it's just a little bit.
Who were they
smaller.
from? Which company was it?
Rubicon.
Oh, Rubicon. Okay.
Yeah,
I do hear that about their figures are not quite as good inverted commas as others. They're not quite as detailed and they're a little bit smaller than some of the other 28 mils.
Yeah, I mean the guy in the car, if that's anything to go by their inventory, he's quite flat. I'm just glad he's in the car hidden away. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't know why because they do such great vehicles, and yet their infantry just their figures generally are slightly weak. I
They
think
got really
it's fair
weird
to say.
plastic. That's what I found as well. Like their plastic's really solid, isn't it? So maybe that's some manufacturing problem limitation with their plastic. But I mean, their plastic's good for vehicles. I like this little baby
Yeah.
to
Oh, absolutely.
build up tonight.
Ooh, nice.
What you,
Yeah,
Nice.
I'm
what
looking
you
forward to
building?
it.
234.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to build him because I was going to partially build the tracks and paint that before because I wanted to get all the details. But I've got a naughty surprise coming, and so I'm joining the elitist club, getting
Yeah.
an airbrush.
Yeah.
Oh god,
I
this is
was
going to be 2 for 1, isn't it? 2 on 1
I was,
here. You're going to bloody paint
oh, I
airbrush
wasn't going
talk all
to.
night.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's the thing that scares me. The amount of videos I'm watching, I'm just like, am I going to be able to do this? Like, it's a
If
bit of a
I can do
commitment.
it, you can do it. Don't panic.
But I was just doing this miniature, and I was just like, there's so many little nooks and crannies on this vehicle that I just couldn't get to, and I was just like, maybe I'll accelerate the need for an airbrush. So I just impulse bought it, which didn't go down too well. High command was not involved in that decision.
High command
Oh
probably
dear.
was very
Oh
pissed.
dear.
High command was probably very pissed off.
Yeah, I live in the shed now with my
I find
T34.
the problem now with this isolation and everyone being at home is I can't get those parcels delivered when they're all out doing
Yeah.
things like at work and stuff. It's really annoying because
Yeah.
suddenly you realise there's quite many parcels have arrived every week.
I know.
I was dreading it turning up before because I just wanted it to be dispatched before she found out. Sorry, it's here now. Just start using it before she
Yeah.
can take it back.
Yeah.
Oh no, tell me about it. And so Itinerant's in the house, and he said that's for bolt action, isn't it? Yeah, I think it is. You're using it for your Stalingrad project, isn't it, Leah?
Yeah, that's right. Obviously, I've not dealt with the Rubicon kits as well, so I thought it was a good opportunity with the sale. I thought let's give them a go, and I'm loving the detail on some of these vehicles. I mean, the instructions as well. GW would cry over the detail in these instructions. It's beautiful.
So good, isn't they?
Yeah,
and
absolutely
the
fantastic.
the tracks are one piece as well. That just blows my mind.
Yeah, so you get the chassis, and then you got these little nods for the wheels to go on the back, and then the actual wheels then attached to the tracks, so it comes out a bit more and actually looks like a real wheel.
Oh, it's so good.
The options as well, like you get steel wheels and rubber wheels for the road wheels, which is a nice little option. Obviously, rubber shortages. So yeah, I was just top notch.
Are you still going to do that one as the fresh out of the factory?
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to do it as a 41 model and have some quite bad battle damage on it. So some winterish weather on it. So should be cool.
Yeah, because that's one of the options, isn't it? With the new Stalingrad book, you can have factory crews in it. You can have freshly arrived, so hasn't got its optics and something else. And there's a third option, isn't it? I can't remember what the other one is, but yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, for 140 points, T34, even as inexperienced, worth a go.
You have to treat yourself to a T76 now.
T76?
T26.
T26. Oh yeah. Well, I've already got one, haven't I?
Oh yeah. The one I printed out.
But it's 3D print. No, you got yeah. Oh no, actually.
Yeah,
I've got a 28. Sorry, T28.
Yeah.
And obviously got the all T70.
Yeah.
That you printed.
Yeah, the original.
Just still being painted. I will finish it one day. It's just such a small little tank. I'm like, when I want to use it, I'll just paint it up, finish it up. So.
You'll be able to airbrush it very soon.
Nice.
Be able to airbrush it soon, yeah.
What have you been? Go on, Dom. I know you're dying to probably get out what you've done. Go on.
He's done tons this week.
I've done nothing, mate.
Go on, drive at home, Dom.
You know
drive
what?
at home.
I've gone in overdrive this week. I have to say it's ridiculous. I've done a load of nights. Some more nights done from the footsore. You see that Baron War jobs?
Yeah.
Where they'll stand out terribly well. I've done a whole bunch of these done, ready to go. I've finished off a pike regiment for my English Civil War project. Done them as Lord Percy's foot, which are all in white.
How many guys is that?
Very, 16 pikemen and 24 musketeers.
Holy shit.
Oh.
And I did. Where are they over here? Oh, find this unit here. Not that it shows up terribly well on the screen, but there you go. And a unit of 12 cavalry.
Wow.
Done. So
Very nice.
yeah.
I bet you
Pleased with
couldn't
how
wait.
they've come out.
I bet you couldn't wait all week, could you? I bet you were like, I hope he hasn't done anything this week.
Crow about it. Yeah, well, I knew you just, I give up with you anyway. You come on, you say you got nothing to paint, and then you end up painting half a ton of stuff, and then you don't. So, yeah. So let's have a look who's in the house. We've got a few viewers here. We've got Paul, Paul, Leslie, of course. Leslie said, what is it? He was being rude to you, so I won't say that. Actually, I will say that because he's saying Ken's been too long in the garden without turning over. Yeah, probably true, actually.
No, it's the big light, Leslie, and it's bloody hot. You forget, I have my window shut.
Yeah.
I'm in a tiny box room and a PC's on, and it's like 27 degrees. It's hot.
We've got On Point in the house, On Point HQ. He won't like all this Russian talk because he only does German, so it's all fine. Who else we got? Seventh Son. Hi, Martin. How you doing, mate? Loved the battle, but yeah, he did another battle report. Anybody see Seventh Son's battle report? Black powder against his missus, and he let her win for once.
Can't do that. That's cheating.
No, it's not fair. Not fair.
How's she
Who
ever
else
gonna
we
learn?
got? Itinerant, I mentioned. I think that's everybody who said something in the chat. So if I missed somebody, I'm sorry. But that's it. So yeah, it's been one of those weeks for me. Actually, I've done quite a lot of painting.
I've got Seb, I've got Leslie again, and Duncan. Hello, Duncan FX. I've not seen you before, buddy. How are you doing?
I think I saw Duncan comment on a video last week or this week. I can't remember what it was now. But anyway, welcome all. So, what was I going to say? I can't remember what I was going to ask you now. So, what are you working on now? That's the important thing. What are you doing?
Dad's Army.
Both are hard at work.
Doing
Army.
just trying to get these Dad's Armies done, civilians.
I think I'm gonna build the T-34 tonight. I'm not in a painting mood, and with the airbrush coming, I'll just start getting this ready.
She's actually let you keep it then.
Watch this space.
Return to sender. She's gonna go to the door, mate, when it comes. And she'll be like, "Nah, I'd send it back, mate." And you'll be like, my parcel come at all? And she'll be like, "Nah, Liam, nothing's come."
Forever waiting.
Turn up where it is.
That's why you got a refund.
Well, and I ran out of uniform grey as well, didn't I? So it was a double whammy that night. I was just like, that's it, I'm getting one. I was trying to paint that the rocket car, and then I ran out of primer for the T-34. So I thought, that's it, I'm doing it. Just gonna do it.
Just gonna do it.
I mean, I'll pay for it, but
bloody will. Yeah, paints. That's something. I'm in real trouble getting hold of paints at the moment. I know they're starting to come back in stock with some companies, but they're especially contrast paints. They're really hard to get hold of at the moment. I had a couple arrive from eBay this week, but that's it. I'm really struggling.
I got pretty lucky. Turns out one of my local hobby shops, A Fistful of Dice down in Southsea, they were actually open for the for deliveries. So they would deliver to certain postcodes, and I'm literally on the edge. And they're fantastic service. I ordered it 10 o'clock one day, and I got it at 5 o'clock that night.
Nice
Yeah.
job.
And they're pretty good for stock as well. They seem to always have GW paints in, at least.
Yeah. Well, they've got
stock for them. But...
They're doing click and collect now as well, Liam.
Yeah, they've just opened click and collect back up, but you got to ring the doorbell, wait for them to put on the doorstep, and then back away.
Do the dance.
But,
yeah,
it's
so weird. I usually get it through mail companies, and they all seem to be struggling to get delivery, because I think GW were one of the first companies to shut down, weren't they? And so it's taken a long time to get. I think they've just started coming back online, from what I read. So they're starting to get a bit of stock back in. But I've had an order with Elemental Games, I think it has, for over a month now, and they were supposed. They thought even then there was a long delivery time, and they said, but it should have come 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks away. I still haven't received it, but it is. I've got loads of other paints. It's just the contrast into because you use a lot of it, don't you? That's the problem. It goes down really rapidly.
Yeah, I've run out of Black Templar.
Oh, that's interesting. Leslie says on tabletop have paints in stock and some on discount. Okay, I'll check them out. Good call. I know Goblin Games have come back online.
Oh, have they? They're the ones I tend to use.
They're the ones I usually use for most of my stuff because they're 20% off GW stuff, aren't they? So,
I find their deliveries as well are really reliable. When they say it's going to be delivered, it usually is.
Yeah,
That's quite
absolutely. One of the best mail order companies I think there is out there in terms of accessories and stuff like that.
Yeah, just realistic expectations. That's the other thing as well.
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah, I really like that.
For now, yeah. But yeah, until I found this local hobby shop, and I was just like, I was kind of desperate for paint, but well, it's at the tail end now, isn't it? Really, but now I found them, I'll be using that more often.
Yeah, it's handy, isn't it?
Well, it's nice to support a local shop if you can, isn't it? And if they're a good price as well.
Yeah, they're about 10% off most paint, so.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem I have around here. There's virtually nobody left anymore. No game shops, no model shops anymore, and it's there's one in Aldershot.
Oh yeah, I know.
But they've got rid of all their proper gaming stuff, so they sold off all their bolt action stuff a while back. But I think I bought most of it. Most of my Russian army was bought when they were selling off their stock. So it's good for paints, but it's a long way to go just to pick up a little bit of paint,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I literally just ordered a spray can today, another one, and it just turned up. So having that has been pretty good.
M's gonna
I
kill
love
you.
the way Ken knew that. Ken knew that shop because he done his world tour of all the shops in the south. That's how ludicrous he is.
Yeah.
You went
Probably
everywhere,
only
didn't you?
he was only looking for freebies, Liam. That's all it was.
Yeah, it was.
Andover. Went to Andover. Yeah. God,
That was crazy. I was working that day, and he just kept phoning me saying, "Oh, I'm here now." I was like, "How much driving have you done?"
I went from Tidworth. I went from Triple Helix, didn't I, across to Andover.
Yeah.
And I spent quite a bit of money. I tend to do that a lot.
Disgraceful.
I can't wait to
Well, spend lots of money, not as much as I do. I don't think.
I can't wait to get to a
Working through as my English Civil War cuirassiers, I work through them because I reckon I've been doing lots of medievals and I've been lots of English Civil War. So cuirassiers are like medieval knights. So there you go, bit of a combination of the two. That's what I'm working with.
I've been doing
who else? Bolt action. What playing?
No, painting. So I want to paint something else. So hence the fantasy miniatures. They're going to get.
So you need a bit of variety, don't you? I think it's really important to swap it up occasionally and not have to do the same sort of figures all the time. It really is important. I think keep you fresh.
Yeah.
It's quite nice doing that dwarf last week.
Dwarf. Brethren after myself.
Just after so many Russians, I was like, I need something to go wild on.
And Russians are particularly dull.
Yeah. I've chosen my next army is going to be 8th Army, and I was speaking to Ken the other day when I was just saying, oh no, it's another khaki army,
Yeah.
It's just like I don't know whether I can do it. I might have to do something else.
Yeah.
Trouble is, the Second World War, there isn't an awful lot of really bright options, are there? I mean,
You've got the US Marines, haven't you? Got US Marines, you can do their camo. Well, the Germans are quite good for it, aren't they? Do you know what I mean?
I suppose so. Yeah, I suppose so.
You got camo with them, so.
Like that.
Not like doing Napoleonics or something, though, is it? Medieval.
No. Cool, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just where the only thing
sprockets, so cool.
The only thing I care about is the tracks are in one piece and you've got to glue them together and they look shit.
Yeah, well, these ones, you glue that part on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And then you glue the track onto them. Brilliant.
Exactly same as my Panther.
Oh yeah, and that was another thing. I don't know if you've ever had Rubicon kits. Have you, Dom? You ordered some, didn't you?
Yep. I did
Yeah.
order some. I've hardly made any of it yet, but I did order some.
Decals. I wasn't expecting decals. I don't know why. But
Big
obviously
sheet as well, isn't
different.
it?
Yeah, and obviously a lot different from the Warlord one, which is just tends to be quite generic stuff on their box art, whereas this has got random stuff on it. So
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, I'm doing the swim wagon thing at the moment, and even then, it's like I don't know how many options there are for number plates. There must be 40?
Oh yeah.
No,
Yeah.
maybe not. 30 options of number plates on there. It's ridiculous. And you
Yeah.
think, wow, is that really worth it? But it is extraordinary how many there are. I just need to finish it now. Although I did manage last week. I managed to drop a bit on the floor, and I still can't find it, which is really pissing me off.
Oh yeah, I did that today. Because I'm making this car to obviously also have the truck to have the back, the sort of troop transport on the back, and there's a little nut underneath which I was going to magnetise to make it just a bit more of a firmer connection, and I had it sat in here. And I just picked this up randomly just to move it, and it just went flying off, and I still can't find it. Amateur. So I think I might have to glue a bit of metal into that little hole there to sort of do a magnet job.
Yeah.
It doesn't really need it. Like, that's pretty firm anyway, but it's just it doesn't have that snap feel to it, you know.
No, exactly. Oh, it's too bloody hot.
So we've got in the chat. So On Point's working on his ECW. I can't believe it. He's not using his Germans again. He's using ECW. Good grief. Paul's doing Bavarian Rebellion miniatures for Infamy. Oh, nice. That'll be fun. What is it? Leslie says no mail order around. It's only mail order around where he is. Well, you're in France, mate. They're all backward there. Paul said there were 7 shops originally, now down to 3. I think there must have been about 4 or 5 about 10 years ago around here, and now there's, well, I can only think of 1. If you count modelling shops as well.
Yeah, I got a question. Does anyone know what those blue stars are on this transfer sheet? They're like a blue sort of sun, and it's in a German set. I don't know what they are.
No idea.
No.
Because I've got Africa Corps here, but I don't know what that is. Anyone in the chat know what they are? If you can you even see it?
Not really. No, not terribly well. So what are these? They're stars, are they?
No, they're like suns. They're blue with a white sun.
Oh, blue with a white sun. I wonder where this one of. What vehicle is it?
It's an SDKFZ 222.
Okay. I wonder if it's trying to think, but it was something like it's not Hungarian because they had sort of white crosses, didn't they?
Yeah. Romanian?
I wonder if it's Bulgarian or something like that. I'm not entirely sure.
If anyone knows, that's the sun. There's bloody 4 sprues with this thing. I've forgotten how big and complicated this thing was to put together because I've already done one of these.
They are involved. They're proper models, aren't they? They are proper models.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
That's what always put me off. But they're not that difficult to put together.
Anything else than Rubicon in the future?
No.
Oh, really? You're really converted?
Yeah, well, definitely over the Warlord stuff, I think.
Yeah, I am.
Sacrilege.
Sacrilege. Yeah, the Italieri kits.
New viewer?
Oh, the Italieri kits, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very basic, aren't they? So I was just going to say, welcome to Chris. Chris said he's just found us on YouTube. Heard you speak a lot of bolt action. Have you looked at 148 tactic? Yeah, I have, mate. I've got the rules. But I haven't played a game yet. No, I have not played it yet. It does look fun, and I watched. Oh God, who was it? Did somebody, one of the regular tubers, is really big into it, and he organised what they called a world World Championships somewhere in Stoke or something like that, and he videoed a lot of it. It did look really good fun. Those guys, the nutty guys from Scandinavia who do the videos, came over and played in it, and it did look great fun. But I haven't played it yet. Although I think you can play it with bolt action figures, can't you? You don't have to play the 48 scale figures. Although they look really nice, I must admit. But no, I haven't played that before. Prezzo, that's it. Well done, mate. Yeah, that's the one.
Don't
Sorry.
forget to check out Miniature Wargaming Warriors channel.
Shame.
Plug in there now, eh? God, he's trying to see. I keep feeding him viewers, and somehow he's still got more than me. I don't work it out. What the hell's going on? God damn! He steals all my freebies. He steals, my viewers. Jesus, what do you do? What's the Seventh Son says he's got Yorkist heavy cavalry on the desk at the moment for War of the Roses.
Very nice.
I bet that's fun. Are you doing contrast paints for them, mate? I hope so. Really enjoyed doing them. I've got a whole load of heavy cavalry to do. Gonna have to do them soon. And Paul is being really cheesy and doing nationalist Chinese. That has got to be the cheesiest list in the bolt action, don't you think?
Nationalist
Really
Chinese.
has.
What models are you using, Paul, to convert those then? What are you using as your base?
I'm waiting for him to answer, but of course he can't.
Yeah. Are they the ones that basically get everything the Russians have, as well as another characteristic? Is that what makes them so?
They are, aren't they? I think they're kind of a bit like Russian with a bit of Japanesey feel to them, I think. But they have all sorts of special units that can do things like infiltration and hit initial deployment in front of the army and all that kind of stuff. And I think they can be. Then you can get all these wonderful armored cars and stuff packed full of machine guns. And I always hear. I've never really seriously looked at it as a list, but I do hear they're quite cheesy. There you go. Dear. And Leslie. Oh no, he's talking about something else. No, he's talking about GW in Caen, 45 minutes away.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, the Chinese get some US stuff. There you go.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool. I was gonna say, what were the questions this week, Dom? We actually did some questions this week.
Bloody hell, I've got to find some. I did actually do some, didn't I? Here we go. I was going to ask about terrain building, because I saw you obviously your fourth part here. I was going to give you a plug for your channel, and I don't need to now because you've already stolen the plug. You did your fourth part of the Stalingrad build.
Yes. So
I wanted to get some tips on do-it-yourself kind of terrain building for those who don't do it.
Yeah, go on. What would you?
So what do you go about it? Where do you start? Is it have you always done terrain building for a start? Is it something you can just pick up and just fly with?
It is and it isn't. such an Irish answer there. But yeah, no, terrain. What I started with like small stuff, and then just gradually worked up. So start with did some hedges and things like that. It was, I don't know. We needed terrain, didn't we, Liam? We needed.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That was the dire thing is we needed terrain, and I wanted to play with terrain, so it was the case of either do terrain or don't. But again, it was YouTube. I just watched YouTube videos. I watched Mel the Terrain Tutor. Watched a lot of his videos.
Yep.
Duke's APS from that.
He was a bit later on. He was more towards doing my first board. But Mel the Terrain Tutor's got some really good basic terrain tips and things like that. But you pick up things. So say the easy things like fences, they're like the easiest thing, but they add so much to a game, or roads. So fences are 2 lollipop sticks and barbecue skewers. Look, I've got a packet of barbecue skewers just sitting here.
Yeah, I've used them for logs and stuff in the past as well.
Yeah, you just need to use your imagination. You can use anything for terrain. It just depends what sort of terrain you want to build. That's the question.
I think that's what's always worried me a little bit with it, because it's having all the bits and bobs to do it right, and knowing, kind of like you did with the Stalingrad board. You get big bases of stuff and art card and all sorts of other things that you were using in there, and I'm thinking, oh Christ, that means I've got to go and buy it, and then what if I make a hash of it, and
It's all
I've
pretty
got to
cheap.
have this bit of equipment. Right.
It's all pretty cheap to like buy and use. You can make terrain out of anything. That XPS foam stuff is like about £6-7 for a big old sheet of it just to practice with. That's all that's made out of is XPS foam. And I'm just the foam that you see me hot glue down is the foam out of the tabletop tyrant case. Where you take the bits out the batch, you put your miniatures in.
Yeah.
That's all that is. I'll just cut it up.
Oh right, okay.
And I just glue it.
Interesting.
It's just repurposing. It's just repurposing hobby stuff. So like
you're recycling.
Yeah. So when I do,
you're green.
Yeah. So when I do any sort of speckling work, so like I use a sponge. Do you know how the blisters you get the sponge?
Yeah.
I just keep one or two of the sponges, and just rip it up and use it.
Oh, cool. I should have a go at that. I've never. I mean, I've fiddled around with it. In fact, funny enough, one of the reasons I was talking about this because I did actually do this. Well, I did a group of these walls just using sticks that I found around. I just thought I'll have a go at it because I've never actually tried to do anything properly like that. And it's come out all right. It's dead simple, but it was just stuff that I happened to have around. So I found these sticks when I was out on a walk, made sure they've dried out thoroughly, and just a bit of wood I had kicking around in the garage to put them on, and then just normal flocking and stuff. But I never really did it. And the idea of then upgrading to doing something as big as Stalingrad board is a bit daunting for someone like me. I have to say, there's virtually no.
If you do small things, so like you've done a technique there of doing woodlands, right? You can now do a whole woods. There's no reason you couldn't do a wood because you've done the basic aspect in a small scale. You just need to do it in a bigger. You just do it in a bigger scale. So it's like you build a building. So you build a foam building you're happy with. Okay, I built a foam building.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just build it in a big scale. That's all you're doing. You're just upscaling. And that's the daunting thing to some people is you're just upscaling it. So it just takes, to be honest with you, it takes more time than anything else. The bigger you go, the more time it takes. So, to do one of them videos, for me to get all that stuff out, it's going to take me at least an hour to set everything up, to do a video and to get ready to film and stuff. And I got to do all the work. So I'll try and do like 6 hours, 7 hours and in a row to make it worthwhile when you're doing a big board. 100%.
Yeah.
Because there's no point.
Also, you got to have space to leave it up while it's drying and stuff, haven't you?
That's or work around it. Like I've got my house isn't that big. I've only got a 2-bedroom house, and there's not a huge amount of room. My missus doesn't.
Storing it, innit?
Doesn't like thingy. It's downstairs at the minute. It's leant up against the wall, so that's where it will stay until it's complete, and then it will probably either go over Liam's house or it'll go up my mum's.
Storage.
Yeah. Liam's loft is a treasure trove of storage. But Dom,
The shed.
Yeah, and the shed. Yeah, and the shed. There's a board out there. I forgot about that. I'll tell you what, Dom. I've got a video from ages ago. You've probably not seen it. I did like a live stream, and I showed you how to do a field in less than 10 minutes. Just out of an old £1.99 rug, doormat. Literally.
I used to use those back in the day. I used to go down to B&Q and places like that and pick up those like those felt tile things that people used to have down in their things, and they're dead easy. You just cut them up and they're perfect for that sort of thing. And often they have sort of ridges already in them, don't they? And they're ideal for that.
Yeah, well, all I did with mine is I got it. I just painted it. It was a brown already, but I painted it more of an earthy brown. I put some glue on it, and then I just chucked some flock, and it looks like an overgrown field. It's done.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. I'm a bit. I took on board from all these things, and I watch Mel and I watch Luke's channels and stuff, and sometimes they can be quite daunting. But when it's kind of really basic stuff like that, you kind of think, actually, this is very doable. I know. On Point did a video talking about he did some really ornate basing for his figures. He just what's absolutely crazy bases he does with some of his figures. But he used oh god, it was, I can't remember what it was now. Whether it was a blind or something like that. He got out of like pound shop
Yeah.
that was just little sticks, and he used those. And when you break them off, they look just like 28 mil tree trunks.
Yeah.
So he just, for £1, he got this great long strip all wired together. So you just clip the wires, and suddenly you got a whole load of dead sticks. Whereas I found all my sticks out when I was out on my isolation walks,
Yeah.
and it's really hard to find ones that are just perfect size. They're straight enough because you don't want too much of a bend when you're building them together, because they just don't sit right, and you've got to then do a jigsaw of it all. So it's kind of knowing those little cheats, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. And when you're seriously into terrain, because you'll be going around any sort of shop and you'll look at something and you'll go, ooh, that would make quite good at that. It's like I've got birthday wrapping paper. The wrapping paper, sorry. The tube that's inside.
Mhm.
That tube is now going to be a chimney on the Stalingrad board for the factory. Because it's the perfect thing. But then, because you get the toilet roll issue with it, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to get some of that sculptor mold and put it over it really thin, and it will dry rock solid, and you won't see the whatchamacallits. But while it's drying, I could either do one or two things. I could take the brick. Oh bloody hell! Where is it? Here it is. So like the brick rolling pin, and just roll it round on the stuff, or I could go in with some foam bricks art, or I could go in with some foam afterwards and do it like that, because with my foam cutter I can cut it really thin so it bends. So
Right.
But yeah,
You've frozen, Liam. I can hear you, but your picture's frozen for me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, your picture is frozen.
They're willow edging, apparently. On Point says, absolute top stuff. Yeah, I was really impressed with that, mate. It really worked well. Looked really, really good. And Leslie said best sticks are from heather plants, the large old bits. Yeah, can you understand that? Kind of, nice and woody, aren't they? That's what you want.
Just gotta be careful.
But the thing is,
I be careful, ain't you? It's got to be dead, and you want it to. Some people, it's like I baked. Yeah. If I picked up a load of soil and stuff, I'd bake it. Like I baked. I baked a load of oh Christ, what's it called?
Ballast.
Ballast. That's it. How did you know what I meant?
Because I did the same. I think we mentioned it before on one of the chats, but I did exactly the same thing. Before I discovered Luke's APS, which is just so much easier to use, that's how I used to do it. I'd put it all on a baking tray and bake it in the oven, and hope the missus didn't catch it. And don't touch it before it's really cooled down.
No, I made that mistake.
Jeez, does it get hot?
Yeah, just.
But it's really a way of doing it, isn't it? And a cheap bag of ballast. Oh, he's upside down now, Liam. Look at that. Oh, now he's back again. To Australia all of a sudden.
What an absolute gumbo.
What a gumbo. I want to lay on as well. It's a bit dark now.
But yeah, I did that. I built a bag of ballast from Wix or something like that, and it's great actually, because then the bigger rocks that you get in it, I use then on basing on for bigger dioramas, or like I did on these walls. I use the bigger stones in there, and it kind of works really nicely. But
I can guarantee.
I think that's as far as I've ever gone.
I can guarantee you that's all that Luke does. Is he gets massive bags of stuff and he mixes it. That's all he does for his APS stuff, because he knows that people aren't going to go around a builder's merchant, get all these different stuff just to make up this one blend of whatever it is. You buy it in mass. It's cheaper to buy it bulk, but then, oh my god, are you ever going to use a whole bag of ballast? Because I sure as hell ain't. Do you know what I mean?
I've still got mine still around the corner. My wife is using it now for putting in the bottom of flower plots.
Exactly. It's only like £3 as well. That's the thing, isn't it? It's cheap as chips.
Yeah, exactly. It is, and I think that's the thing. It's for me, that's a bit of a big step up from doing those sort of like fields and walls and hedges and even a bridge or two. I think I've done a bridge before now in the past, but then to do the sort of big scale boards like you've been doing. It just seems a bit. I guess it's just scaling up. That's all it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I did crap myself on the first time was pouring resin. That was
Oh yeah.
done for the original board. I poured a load of resin. I was like, "Don't touch it, Liam! Don't touch it!"
Mask, everything.
Yeah. It was it. No, I didn't even wear a mask back then. I didn't even know. I didn't even know what a danger resin was.
Breathing it in. Breathing it in.
Breathing it in like it was
God.
beauty.
Now who's the gumbo, eh?
Me firmly.
What about you, Liam? Have you ever done any big book? I know you helped Ken out. You've done these stuff with Ken and
Well,
Yeah, help me out.
yeah. This board was supposed to be my helping him out, and this happened. So with the COVID situation, so I got away with it that time. But I'm looking forward to it. I really enjoy painting terrain, especially between, like you said, it's the variety thing, isn't it? Like when you're doing a load of inventory or tanks or whatever, and then you go to do something like a terrain piece where you don't have to worry about the little details so much. Just dry brush it real quick, and you've got something really nice in front of you. And obviously, it makes such a big difference as well. People, we used to
Terrain
play
is such an important part of the games, isn't it? It just that a decent battlefield with nice looking terrain is just makes the hobby for me perfect. I mean that's decent mates to play with, preferably a beer and decent figures and decent terrain, and not playing Ken is absolutely the perfect world.
Yeah. So his introduction game was a couple of books on a table, and look at him now.
And I thought I wasn't having that.
It's odd, isn't it? I think I watch people, and I've seen videos and games at clubs and what have you when I visited over the years and they have beautiful terrain and then unpainted figures moving around it, and then vice versa. You go to other ones and they got these beautiful figures and then they got kind of pile of books or unpainted terrain, and you think, why are you doing it?
I've already decided no one's playing on that Stalingrad board with unpainted miniatures. It deserves better. So
all
Seb,
that work you put into it, you want it to work. Yeah.
Seb, Elliot, and Dave, if you're listening, get those minis a painting, mate. Get them a painting. And yes, Elliot, you can put dwarfs in it.
Shame.
No, not dwarves.
Him and his shame.
Crossing the stream, that is. But it could look like some sort of Helm's Deep or something, couldn't it? I don't know.
To be fair, that board would probably be good for 40k as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It'd be good. Yeah. It'd be good for Warhammer 40,000 as well.
Some guardsmen will look good on there.
Yeah, 9th edition, 40k. Oh, one day. Well, I'll tell you what. I was going to say. Do you want to do a next question? Because I do want to talk about something tonight. I've got something I want to speak about.
Well, I was just going to ask before we do. What's your what would be your tip for getting into doing terrain?
Start small. So just start small with something that you want to achieve. Do scatter terrain. Yeah, scatter terrain.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what. Do bases. Yeah, bases. MDF is pretty good. You've got to be careful with it though, because you get warping. That can be a bit of a pain in the ass. What I'd probably recommend you do, actually, in all fairness, if you're in the UK, go to B&Q when it's open. At the minute, you can do click and collect at B&Q, can't you? So you could go out
to B&Q as well now, I think.
Get some 3mm XPS foam. They actually sell it in packs, believe it or not. I did not know this, but they sell it some 3mm XPS foam. Use that with some PVA glue, but it doesn't warp as bad. And it doesn't warp at all, actually, because it's space styrofoam, so it's quite good for like basing, and it's quite low to the table. But just do some scatter terrain. Like you could just get a couple of big rocks out of your garden. You can make like we've got, Liam, in it, the Lord of the Rings stuff. We've just got a couple of rocks that look like boulders. Like just get the right scale, and you can either leave them as they are. I probably wouldn't leave them if they're like the yellowy colour stone. I'd probably just spray them grey and just put a black wash over
Dry
them,
brush.
or a dry brush. And that's your first bit of scatter terrain and a bit of flock on it. Luke APS, like I said, his stuff is spot on. Is Grassy Plains is the one most of my miniatures are based in. That stuff's really good. But you got the Highland stuff. Yeah, just keep it simple. Just do some like fences and watch.
It just makes such a difference. Little bits.
Yeah, scatter terrain makes a game, and trees as well. Trees. You can buy cheap trees off China and make them look good easily. Where's one? See if I can find it.
Or just your little model shops, your railway models.
Yeah, your railway shops. Yeah, the railway. Yeah, don't ignore the railway guys. Those guys know what they're doing. So
they do actually. There's some fantastic stuff you buy in the railway shops, and it's cheaper as well than the wargaming stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
So you got like tree there. Look at that. That was a crappy tree. And all I did is I put some basing material on it, and it just changes it.
Yeah.
You still got the plastic bit at the bottom there. I haven't bothered changing it because there's no point. It's just going to go on the table. You won't see it. But just spend a bit of time. Get some 60 or 50 mil. Like there's MDF bases there. Circular ones. Just get some circular bases or cut some out with the foam if you want to do bigger stuff, and just put some scatter on it. Just a bit of PVA glue.
Yeah.
That's all you really need. Just start small and watch lots of YouTube. That's the massive one. Watch lots of YouTube. Watch lots of people doing stuff. But then don't be scared to go out and try, because a failure is not a failure. It's just a one step closer to becoming a success.
Happy little accident.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, he sounds like one of those motivational videos, just like that. Fantastic.
Good, isn't it?
You're
gonna play.
I agree with you. I think it's give it a go. Give them a go.
Yeah, give it a go. What's the worst that's going to happen? It might fail. You can try again.
The worst it's going to be you spend a couple of quid on or freebie stuff you found. It'll just you can just put it in the bin.
But you'll get better. You'll get better at it. That's the whole thing. Is you will get better at it, and you'll think, oh, I can do that better, and you will do it better next time. Do you know what I mean? It will happen.
So my limited bits I've done, and you do feel a bit pleased with it. Although I have to say, when I was sorting out the garage a few weeks ago, and I found some of the stuff I'd done years and years ago, I thought I quietly put that into a black bin bag and took it down to the bins, because it was just like.
But there's no harm in doing that, because then you can just do it again, can't you? So.
Precisely.
If you wanted to do that, you can. There's nothing wrong with doing that. If you're not happy with something, if your skill comes on that much, from where I started the hobby a few years ago to where I am now, my skill's completely different. If you
that's the same with everything, isn't it? With painting, with it's like anything in life. Generally, practice makes perfect. You get better with practice. It's no, who was the golfer, was it? I think it was Lee Trevino or someone like that said after he'd holed some bunker shot from some distance, and some guy said, "Oh, that was lucky," and he said, "Yeah, it's funny. I get the luck. Funny how much luckier I get the more I practice."
Oh, yeah,
and it's true.
Yeah.
It's exactly that. You practice, you practice, you get better.
Oh yeah, definitely. 100%. You're gonna have a game on the old Stalingrad board then, Dom?
Yeah, we'll do, mate.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'll be there. I'll bring my unpainted Russian horde for you.
You do that, you
Russian.
die. I know you got a win a Russian army. I've seen the video, so don't give me that crap.
Yeah, I'll bring it. I've even got some extra bits for it now, so I did my Vasily figure. Oh, that one I did this week as well. There you go, I did Vasily.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I don't know where he's gone, but it's somewhere
Vasily
around here.
For everyone.
Vasily all round.
Although I want to do the On Point did the German guy on one of his videos.
Yeah. Oh well.
Fantastic.
A bit of a kit bash, is it?
Yeah, he did a kit bash. I think I can't remember. I can't remember off the top of my head where he got it from, but he found a figure that looked very similar to the movie character.
Yeah.
And painted him up, and he again talk about sort of going OTT with his basing. He had this sort of mini diorama built around him with half a wall with a window. With this sniper holding the gun up like this. It's absolutely fantastic. Well worth a view. Envious of the work he does there. Fantastic. Anyway, Ken, what were you wanted to ask? Come on, you ask it before we run out of time.
What is the time? Oh, it's 9 o'clock. Yeah, no, I was going to say, what game are you looking forward to playing that you haven't played yet? Then I know what mine is, but what about you then, Liam? What's a game you want to play that maybe not has been released yet? Could be a tabletop game, could be a board game. Preferably tabletop, but I know what you're like with your board games. You love your board games.
Yeah, I do love a board game. Hell Caesar, actually, I'm more to giving that a go at some point. And yeah, Undaunted has a special place in my heart. And that the North Africa campaign's coming out, adding tanks in, tank commanders and stuff onto it. So that should be pretty fun.
Yeah.
We still haven't finished the base game, have we? But it's just such a good little board game that you can just get out, play 30 minutes, pack it away, and just feel like you've had a little story that night of a big battlefield.
Yeah.
Even though you haven't really.
No, it's not taken very long either, is it? So.
No, exactly. Yeah. So you can't have 2 turrets from this gun. Sorry, I just figured out there's one piece that you don't have 2 of, so you can't make both turrets. But well.
Oh, so you got to repeat one repeat, so that's annoying.
Yeah, they do that, don't they? In most kits, they leave you one part of a turret that you can't make both variants of. Sorry.
Well, it's the KV1 and the KV2 where you can actually build completely different turrets, and that's
yes,
great.
That is really a great kit, and you get 7 infantrymen with it. What a bargain!
That's true. Well, yeah, bargain.
Yeah.
I don't think what I would want to play. I'm looking forward to Infamy coming out from Too Fat Lardies.
Yeah,
which is their ancient rule set. Really looking forward to that. I still want to play Clash of Spears. So I'm just looking up there because it's up on my bookshelf up there. Clash of Spears, which was the rule set that was done just towards the end of last year through Kickstarter as an ancient rule set again. Sort of small groups, a bit like it's a decent, but both of them I think are decent versions of SPQR, which is just absolutely dire, as we know.
Yeah, we got.
So those two I really want to have a go at. But I'm still trying to find the perfect medieval rule set. Perfect, but a decent one. I know everyone keeps going on about Lion Rampant, and I will have a go at that, I promise. But it just doesn't appeal that much. I know I played quite a few Hell Caesar. That's a good set. I quite like that. It's a very it's a very basic set. It's very much like Black Powder.
Yeah.
So once you play Black Powder, you can play, Hell Caesar pretty much. You can play Pike and Shot pretty much.
Is it off the same sort of philosophy as Bolt Action with alternative activation, dice in a bag, or?
No, it's not.
No?
Nothing like that at all. No,
okay.
It runs.
You go, I go.
Principles. Yeah, basically it's you go, I go. It runs on command principles. So your army is built up into divisions or brigades or such like, depending on the period, and each commander has a commander rating. And you roll 2 dice when you want to do anything. So I don't know, Pike and Shot, or say Hail Caesar.
I'm not playing that game.
Yeah, you'd be bugging. You wouldn't move at all.
Fucking order.
So say you've got a commander with a rating of 8, commanding your Roman legionary corps, and you want to move them, across the table. You will roll 2 dice, and if you roll 8 or less, you can move them. If you roll 3 under the 8, so you get 5, then you can move 3 times.
Oh, okay.
If you roll 2 under, you roll twice. And it's modified with things like if they're in certain formations, like column formations often help them to move quicker. Certain, drilled troops can do certain things. So it's sort of modified a bit, but basically that's the way the command system works. And if you fail, your entire command stops moving, so it doesn't move for a turn, which can be it's kind of one of those fun things with all those Black Powder, Hell Caesar rule system is that once you you'll have like 3 or 4 different brigades or divisions or what have you, depending on how they call it, and suddenly 2 of them don't move for the first couple of turns, and then you've got to try and deal with that and how you cope with that. And you can mitigate it to a certain degree by having different commanders with different command structures. So you can have a reserve with different group of troops. It's it's fairly basic stuff, but it's as Leslie says disparagingly, it's a GW type game, and it sort of is. But check it out on YouTube. There's some really good videos. I know Seventh Son, he's just saying he used Hail Caesar for War of the Roses games, and it works really well. And I've seen a couple of videos he's placed of that, and it does. I think I'm just looking for something slightly different from that, but it's a good system. I do enjoy it. I think it's good fun.
Be a good starter one for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's say once you've done it, then you can move and do Black Powder, or you can do Pike and Shot or whatever if you want to, because it's pretty much the same rule system. There's a few nuances for different periods and little special rules and what have you can apply, and that allows you to play from from biblical times right the way through to I guess the turn of the First World War. Most of those rule systems will effectively take you one way or another, so it's good.
We've got a chain of command, haven't we? Yeah. Is that what you're thinking, are you?
No, it's not.
Go on then, what are you waiting to get playing with then, Ken?
It's a couple of years away. Liam probably guessed right away.
Oh yeah, you are very much looking forward to that, aren't you?
Yeah. Warhammer, sorry Leslie, the Old World is making a return. The Old World is basically what, speculation is they got rid of the fantasy game, the original game, which I never got to play. I never got to collect minis for it or anything like that. So I'm pretty much really looking forward to that because I can be dwarves.
Dwarves.
I think they will go a bit further back than the original Fantasy Battles.
I think they will
go back to Age of Sigmar, actual Age of Sigmar. Yeah, when he was a human.
Yeah, because
and
basically
humans were on the back foot.
Basically, Dom, Games Workshop killed fantasy by ending all the stories in their last book in the End Times. They literally killed it off. They said this person died, that person died, this person died. So they killed all the characters basically. And that's how they made Age of Sigmar, because it was in the future. But obviously everyone loves the Total War Warhammer games on Steam. They've done so well. They're going back to the old world and using square bases. So I'm very much looking forward to doing that. And I feel sorry for the poor people that got really shitty about it and burnt their armies and melted their armies. Because there was a lot of kickback.
Never, ever do that.
No. There was a lot of kickback through it, but I can't wait. That's like 2 years away and I can't wait for that. That is what I am waiting for.
So I won't pretend to know anything about Games Workshop because it's not my thing at all. But I was listening to, who was it? Paint All the Minis, I think it was, podcast, and he was talking about some of the changes that are coming through the game and through various things in Games Workshop. And he said he put it down to the fact they've got a new CEO who's sort of taking the company back to the kind of the old days, if you like, the old days of Games Workshop and the things that worked for it. And he reckoned that a lot of the changes like this was because of this guy. I don't know whether that's true or not, but On Point says it's the accountants. They think it's a good idea to bring it back.
That's 100%. 100%.
It's all about money.
Yeah, and
you did have to have a massive army for that as well, so it did sell a lot of minis, really.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
Which goes against the. Sorry, Karen.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sold a lot of minis, but the problem was it was out for so long you could only have the keep editioning it, keeping people interested for so long. So you make a completely different rule set. But now people are going to get into this, are going to be like the old fantasy players. They're going to be like nostalgia central. They're going to be like, oh shit, I can do this, I can do that again, and everyone's going to be like, oh man, I need to buy all the minis again because they brought out a new sculpt. They're going to make so much.
I guarantee people didn't sell their minis that much. The fantasy guys, a lot of them were were hardcore. I bet a lot of them kept them. It was only me that sold
I
mine.
was literally about to say, did you keep yours, Liam?
I wasn't that much into fantasy ever really. It was never as much of a pull to me than 40k. So you know, it was always a secondary thing really.
Secondary thing. Looking at me like
Oh,
I'm
dear.
looking at me like I'm some sort of scum.
no, it is a very good game. It's more complicated than 40k for sure. It was.
I know. That's what I think I want. I like the idea. I see, like I was saying to Dom and that. I like the idea of the old bows and arrows and that medieval sort of.
It was the magic, man. The magic.
The magie.
You wipe out an entire army with magic. It was a bit over the top sometimes.
Well, hopefully they won't do that in this.
Yeah, see, that's a good point, Liam. So that's the bit. I'm being devil's advocate here. So if you like all the pointy stick things and the arrows and stuff, why don't you play ancients or medievals? Why do you have to go and have all fantasy stuff?
Because you can't have dwarves in ancients and medievals. And they can't attack. They can't attack some sort of rat man Skaven or a dead mummy that's come back to life.
Fair point.
It's the 10-year-old boy inside me that goes, I want to play with dwarves.
So basically, your whole fantasy is dwarves.
Oh yeah, can't wait. I'm literally gonna name every character. No, I'm gonna name every model I get. Seriously, they're gonna get names. I cannot wait to just. Liam, I'm gonna steamroll you.
You're going to write them on the figure basis, so you know who they are, and you're going to build their family lines and all that.
No, Dom, I won't need to write it on the figure basis. I'll just know.
I can't believe you're that excited when you've not even ever played it.
I know. Sad,
Crazy.
Isn't it?
So you're going to be hugely disappointed if the system comes out. It's just complete twash, aren't you?
No, because I'll just give fantasy a go. Well, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, you got that rule book, and you have a read of that.
Yeah.
Try and figure out how to move a troop.
Yeah, with the wheeling and all that stuff.
The wheeling around, yeah.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I must admit, I can't remember. We were talking about this a while back on one of the streams, but about the ancient Warhammer system, and you said I think that it's there's a thriving Facebook page about it, and I joined it, and you're right. It's just countless people playing it still.
Yeah.
And it's really making a comeback. So I think I might have to revisit that because that's I enjoyed that system. Sorry, Leslie. Everything's sorry, Leslie, when it comes to these rule systems. But yeah, I really like it. I thought that was such a good rule system, and that was why I never played the fantasy version, but that was what appealed to me. Was the because I liked the ancient version. Have I got it around here? No, I did have the first edition book somewhere.
Well done.
It's a box.
I've got the PDFs of them, the books. But well done. You might for your birthday get a box of orcs. Goblins or orcs, Dom?
Well,
thing is, will they bring back the square bases?
Yeah, they are.
Will they
yeah, they
are they though?
Yeah, they are. They
definitely confirmed, have they?
No, Liam, they said not everything needs to be round. There is such a thing as square.
Mm.
It's happening.
Just hard to believe they're going back on a decision like that.
No, they're not. It's a marketing thing again because you've got to buy models again in square bases.
Oh, that's what I hate about Games Workshop. There you go. That's the whole thing. That's why I will. Yeah, no.
It is definitely a put off now. Now I've gone elsewhere and seen all these other game companies, and it's Games Workshop.
Yeah. Let's say Games Workshop is a good way of bringing new players into historical gaming. Why? Hang on a minute. Leslie almost said something positive about Games Workshop. What is going on? Does it really, though? That's the thing. I mean, I know people like these two here, nutcases that came via that route, but does it get that many people into proper gaming?
I think a lot of people used to go to fantasy back in the day because it used to be more advanced. So, you know, and you kind of get away from a lot of the people who just got into the hobby. But some people never got away from that, just stay with fantasy for years and years and years. So But yeah, now there's not that. I suppose maybe that's why we tried out a bit of historicals, but we were kind of on the edge anyway, weren't we, Ken?
Yeah. Well, I love history.
Massively.
I bet you still haven't listened to Mark Felton yet on YouTube, have you, Dom?
Oh, he's great.
He's Liam.
Maybe not.
Tell him how good he is, Liam.
Oh yeah. He gives
Seriously.
the old
He
so many cool little stories that you never heard anywhere else on the History Channel or whatever. But
for World War II.
KV1's taking out 18 Panzer
Yeah.
Panzer threes.
I do. I listen to a lot of those sort of channels anyway. So in fairness, so I must listen to him. Yeah. I know. Come on in, chat. What games are you itching to play?
Yeah,
What's
come
new
on.
that's on your radar?
What
Tell
are
us
you-
in the chat.
What are you
Want to
waiting
know.
for?
What are you waiting for?
And don't feel
Yes,
ashamed.
yeah,
Don't
that's
feel
my
ashamed
fault.
if it's a Games Workshop game. Do not feel ashamed. It's fine.
Yeah,
Oh,
feel
I'll tell you,
really
there is a game actually, Liam, as well that I wouldn't mind playing with you, which we both own, is All Out War from Mantic.
Yeah.
Walking Dead,
Oh
isn't
yeah.
it?
Yep. Nice easy skirmish game.
Yeah, we're looking forward to doing that. A little campaign. It'd be quite nice, to be fair.
Yeah, definitely something different.
Yeah, exactly. Have you heard of that, Dom?
I've heard of it.
Walking Dead All
I've
Out
heard
War.
of it. Yeah.
We got a bargain, didn't we? Up at Mantic, didn't we?
Oh, here he goes with the bargains.
So there you are,
The collector's edition
Mr.
exclusive.
Bargain.
It was exclusive, wasn't it, to Kickstarter or something, Liam? Wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think when they first brought out the game, they kickstarted it, and you get a mouse mat type
Neoprene
fold
thing,
out.
innit?
Yeah, and also 3D models for the terrain. Otherwise, the base game's just flat cardboard pieces. So, yeah, those are little extras.
And
I
as
think
well
it was
as you got a load of
still on
extra
their
models, didn't you?
yeah, their
still on
site is still 75 quid.
Yeah.
I think.
No, it's 100. It's 100 quid.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
100.
something
It was
like
100
that.
pound,
Mad.
and we got it for 50 because the box was. What was it? It didn't have the
It
cards
was
in.
Yeah, it was the demo model. Basically, I think they had taken it around here, there, and everywhere. So, but everything was intact. They actually replaced the rule book because it got lost in transit somewhere. So they got a new rule book out for us. It was brilliant, and then they made sure it was complete as well before sending it to us. Oh, that was it. It was international as well.
Oh yeah,
So
it was
it had
French,
the
wasn't it?
international. Yeah, because they obviously when they done the Kickstarter, they had to print a certain amount for certain countries. So Spanish, French, and English on it.
That was it.
Yeah. So yeah, that
Nice.
also got us a bit of a discount, and yeah, it was a right bargain in the end.
Yeah, it was good.
Nice.
So,
Paul says infamy. I'm not surprised, mate. I knew you were going to say that. And On Point is saying we're planning a 15mm version of Legends of the Old West Games Workshop book game, but no sign of cutesy looking cartoons. There was like a Warhammer version of that, wasn't there? I think I've got it downstairs in the garage. It's what's it called? Tales of the Old West, I think, something like that. Never actually played it. I picked up the rules and they look kind of fun. And I always fancied doing a Western thing. What is that game system? Anyone seen that game system? I'm trying to think who. I watched too many videos and I can't remember who did it. So apologies if it's one of you guys in the chat. Someone did a video of. Actually, I think it might have been Seventh Son, talking about a Western system that's sort of slightly fantasy, spacey, science fiction type thing.
does ring
You
a
have a sort of
bell.
group of desperados, and you run around and the sort of different creatures and what have you pop out.
I think it's a Mantic game, isn't it?
Didn't I see?
I think I've
I
seen
swear I swear we saw that at Warfare. Might not have been No, yeah, it was Warfare.
There was a lot of terrain for it, wasn't there? There was I remember a lot of stalls selling Wild West terrain.
Yeah.
I think he was playing it on like a 2-foot tile, so it wasn't
right.
big range. But as you say, lots of different buildings, and you could go in and fight it out in the buildings, and it looked kind of fun. The Wild West Exodus, that's the one.
Oh yeah, that's
yeah.
what. Yeah.
War Cradle, yeah, that one. That looked kind of fun, and again, that kind of was appealing because you only need like a half a dozen figures.
Yeah, that's another thing. All that war is just literally 2 or 3 figures you can have on your team. on
Dead
your,
Man's
squad.
Hand. Is that a different system? Well, I'm more confused now. I thought it was Exodus, but I could be wrong. Yeah, I don't know. But that kind of that appeals to me. It reminds me of that. Was it Cowboys versus Aliens movie?
Oh yeah,
With what's his face, James Bond, which was
Daniel
kind
Craig.
of stupidly funny. Really like that. Chris is saying Battlestar Galactica ship battles. He's playing a lot of Star
yeah.
Wars Legion.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Battlefleet Gothic, mate. I still want to play that.
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't tried to find it on the dark web somewhere. Snazzy little dark set. I would like to play that. Playing the PC version. Oh, it's pretty much a direct replica, apart from it's like obviously real time rather than
Yeah. Well,
turn based.
I'm telling you right now, I've already got a list for the bring and buy of what I'm going for. So that is one of them. I've got 3 questions to ask. Do you have any dwarfs? You got any epic stuff? And have you got any Battlefleet Gothica? The 3 questions that will be asked.
Oh dear. So yeah, I think there's some. I mean, the good thing is again, there's so many good game systems. My problem is time. I don't have enough time to play the ones that I like playing now. So getting another bloody load of rules to learn and play with, and then actually getting your buddies to play it as well, because it's all very well.
You won't have any problem now. No, I can come up and play eventually. I'll try anything out. I'll literally try anything. I don't care. If I can roll dice for it, I really don't care. That's why we play a lot of box games, don't we, Liam? We're quite interested in box games. We might only play it 3 or 4 times, but
yeah.
But at least we've tried it,
Yeah, and I think that's important, isn't it? It's amazing some of the games you play and you think, wow, I wouldn't have bought it. It's like when you go to a show and you try out one of the participation games and you think, I wouldn't have bought this, but it's kind of fun. And then conversely, the same happens. I've had rule systems where I think, I really wanted this, and then you try it out at a show, and then you think, no, maybe not for me.
Well, I played that Tanks.
Which is good.
I played that Tanks. It was part of the Team Yankee thing. I thought it would be really quite exciting. It wasn't too bad, but it's not something that I would go out and just spend a hell of a lot of money on just getting a load of tanks for. But at least I've tried it,
Yeah, there were a couple of guys at the Farnborough crew who were playing that actually the last week before we shut down, and it kind of just looked a bit. I don't know, really. I thought, but I love the idea. I mean, tanks are just great. Tanks are sexy, full stop, aren't they? But just sort of, I don't know. The game just looked a bit unsatisfying.
Yeah, you don't really use a lot of terrain. It doesn't. It's battling out basically. Who gets the dice first, and it wasn't the best, but it was all right. If you like,
it's like I played Tanker by Two Fat Lardis at I think it was at Warfare last year. I think I can't remember now. One of the shows, and I was really disappointed by it. I didn't really enjoy it at all, which is unusual. I love the Lardy games usually, but it just wasn't for me. So everyone's going to love the same stuff. Otherwise, it would be very boring.
No, exactly. But sometimes, for compromises, people make compromises because they, there's the other opponent and that. It's like Liam, you like your deck builders, don't you? Like cards and stuff.
Yeah, not too heavy on the cards.
No, but like Undaunted and that, don't you?
Yeah.
But before we played that, I would never have played a game like that. That didn't interest me in the slightest.
No.
I played it because I knew Liam wanted to play it, but then it turns out actually I really enjoyed it.
It was the perfect mix, wasn't it?
It was. It still felt like we were playing a board game.
Yeah.
So board games, Liam. You mentioned earlier you're really into board games.
Oh Christ!
Do you want me to show you what really into board games means?
Don't get him started.
Let's see your shame.
There you go. That's a board game. Oh, bloody hell! It's like 10 kilograms.
Bloody hell! That's enormous.
It's 10 kilos, isn't it?
It is, especially with the. I've got a divider for it as well, like a laser cut divider, and it does make things a lot easier when packing it away. And then this bad boy, which we completed last year, was it?
Oh yeah, that was good.
Or was it January or last year?
It was last year. It was in November. No, that was.
Yeah, but that had a great story to it. But yeah, sorry, what was the question? I got excited.
just I mentioned board games and you were off. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
No, it's just intriguing. I mean, why board games over figure games, or what do you prefer?
Well, it's kind of the story with a lot of board games. I know you can have quite a lot of war games where you got a story, but some of the narrative board games you can get where you build a narrative as a small group of people. It's just it's good fun, and I do enjoy teaching it to to people that wouldn't sort of try a board game like that. They'd rather play Monopoly or whip out Gloomhaven and give it a go. But it's surprising how many people get into it, But,
do you think it's an easier thing to get people into then? Is that one of the attractions?
Yeah,
mates
and
who would get touch a wargaming figure.
Yeah, and as a group, you can kind of sort of get out as a party game or something, and they might find it interesting. Blackstone is obviously 40k related lore, so you kind of if it appeals to them in that sort of respect, then they might end up getting into the hobby that way. So
Yeah, that's what I
I've
mean.
had a few people more interested in 40k because of Talisman or something like that.
Never heard of that game.
Never heard of that game. Space Hulk, that's another one. You get loads of 40k minis in that. You play that, and then they're like, "Oh, what are these miniatures?"
They're gateway games.
Yeah, and yeah, like you say, it's just the ease of just packing away, not having to pack the board away and everything else with it. So sometimes it's just nice to crack out a little board game.
Yeah, well, when I go round sometimes, isn't it, Liam, and we don't film, we play a board game sometimes, don't we? Because it's just easier and we don't have to spend all the time setting it up. And, I don't think a lot of people realise how much time actually goes into doing YouTube. A lot of time goes into doing that. We have to.
Yeah, it does.
People don't realise. Especially that board build video took me 2 days of like 8-hour sessions to edit.
I remember your voice when I phoned you halfway through that, how knackered you sounded.
Yeah, I was like, I'm fucked, Liam.
I said, I wish I could be there, Ken. There's a global pandemic.
Yeah. And I nearly said
it's true though that
I nearly said it's not good enough, Gumbo.
Sorry.
No.
It's true on both counts. I mean, I think the videos take forever. I'm trying to edit. I found some old footage from a game that I hadn't actually put up on the channel for a sharp practice game, so I'm just trying to edit that, but it's bloody nightmare. Anyway, taking forever. But hopefully I'll get that done this week, and then I can put that up on my channel this week if anybody interested in a sharp practice game. Pre-COVID. In fact, I think it was even before Christmas, from what I remember. But I think talking about board games, that was what we're really talking about. I like board games. I've always found it really hard, sort of, to keep different mates to play it with. It's like I've groups of friends who, pick a game all the time with, but board games, particularly, if you get beyond the sort of more obvious things like Risk, which I love. I think it's just a fantastic game. So I'm not having a go at that because I really, really like it. But I know loads of friends who play Risk, but they wouldn't go into something more complicated than that.
No.
So consequently, I find I gravitate much more towards tabletop games because I know, like on a Friday night, I can go down to the club and, well, when the world's normal, and play figure games, and I'll have a game, and that'll be absolutely fine. And given a choice, I wouldn't crack open a board game instead of a figure game, if you see what I mean. But if it was an extra game, if someone came around and said, "Oh, we fancy a game or something," and I'd be quite happy to get a board game out and play it. Apart from that one you forced me to play on tabletop.
Yeah, it can be hard finding the right people, especially at Blackstone Fortress. It was kind of like I was really wanting to finish it, wasn't I? And
we both were, weren't we?
Yeah, and
getting everyone together.
Yeah, we wanted the same 4 people to finish it because it's a narrative that builds around the game. you kind of when
Mhm.
you start with a group, you kind of want to carry on, but then some people were more committed than others. Some people got on with it more. So what I should have maybe done is done an introduction game and seen how they liked it and carried on from there.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of a commitment type game, and yeah, Gloomhaven's the next step up from that. So we've really got to find the right people. But
So if it's a
so
narrative game, does that mean you can play it again, or is that
yeah,
once you've done, done?
so with Blackstone, you get a legacy part of the game. So the legacies carry on the narrative. So you'll unlock more sort of dangerous enemies,
Mhm.
and also you're collecting resources to find this end dungeon, which then you've got a sealed card that you can't open until you've completed
Oh
that
my
mission.
god, we waited so long to open that fucking card.
Oh, it was great, yeah. And then, yeah, kind of, I ended up winning that last card as well, which I was real well chuffed with.
No, I'm not
But
kidding. We waited. How long was it, Liam?
yeah, well, it
Over a
must have
year,
been
wasn't
6
it?
months.
No, it's
Yeah,
over a year.
A year?
no, it was 6 months, I think. It was the last. We had literally unlocked the last dungeon, and we just had a massive dry spell, didn't we? Where nobody wanted to finish it, and I was just like, please, can we just finish it? I need to justify buying Gloomhaven.
End's gonna kill me.
Yeah.
Commitment, that is. Jesus. But can you put it away between those? I mean, presumably you can't just leave it up for that length of time.
Yeah. So you just get a little Polly Pocket, which is the legacy sort of Polly Pocket. So next time you play, you just get that out, and it's all you leave it in order, so you know what you unlocked when you unlocked it.
Right.
Each character's got a little sleeve as well, which you store all their stuff in, called a status pod. And
Mhm.
yeah, you just freeze the game at that point.
Yeah.
With other games like Gloomhaven, they've got a big campaign map, and you unlock stickers for which ones you've unlocked.
Right.
Starting with mission 1, and then it branches to, you can either follow this lead or that lead, and there's 2 stickers on the board. The next time you come around, you just go, oh, let's play that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're quite big. They're quite big game now, really. And
Yeah.
a lot of people getting into them
Well,
more and more now.
looking at the size of it, I'm not surprised. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean as in game? Right.
As in, like, yeah, there's quite a few YouTubers that I watch. Shut Up and Sit Down. They review board games all the time. Get quite a lot of inspiration to get new board games with them. But they understand as well that thing of sitting down, someone's not quite enjoying it, and you can kind of, you want to carry on, but you don't want to make a bad time for someone else, especially if they're new to it.
Mm.
No, because it might put
Like
them
that. Yeah, like the other night.
off. Yeah, like the other
You
night.
could tell it was going a bit pear-shaped.
Running here, guys, for the viewers here. They forced me to play. Actually, they forced me to play. We played a game. What was it called again? I can't remember.
Talisman.
And we played it on simulator. And yeah, let's just say it wasn't my thing, really. It just, I wanted to like it. I really did. It was kind of clever, but it just did go on and on and on and on and on.
You probably
Plus,
played.
the bastard didn't tell me the rule, which didn't help.
One rule. The one rule.
The rule was like, oh, you're doing well. Well, look at all those things you've got. Oh, I'm going to take that one off you. I'm going to take that one off you. Oh, and I'll take that one off you.
Yeah.
Oh, Tom, you're not doing so well anymore. What's wrong? Because you didn't fucking tell me that. Yeah,
It was
that's
probably
why.
the least friendliest game I've ever had of Talisman.
Yeah.
I've never seen so many people knock each other off. Well, not in that way, but
Hey!
in the complete opposite. In fact, it was terrible. I was just like, nobody's playing fair at all. We can't actually progress the game.
No, unless someone plays fair. But
Yeah.
Duncan FX has said here, Liam, have you tried Nemesis?
No, I do really want to try that. So it's the Alien-esque game. So
Oh
you're
yeah, that thing I want to
group
play.
of Marines.
Oh, is
Yeah.
it? Yeah. It's on Simulator Gamba. I forgot to tell you that.
Yeah, I know, but I think I do want to get that one in hard copy.
Of course you do.
Very good thing. That and Scythe as well is another one. I don't know if Duncan's played it, but Scythe is like a post-apocalyptic steampunk world where you've got like the Russians, the Americans,
Of course
the
you got the
Europeans.
Russians. Is there anything ever not got the Russians in it with you? keep
they're
up.
all vying for resources. So that's pretty cool.
Well, I want to try that game that they've. It's about 40 foot in it. The board is huge. It's something to do with the Africa campaign. It's on Tabletop Simulator. I can't remember what
Oh
it's
yeah,
called. It's going to take like 2 or 3.
Rummel in the desert, is it?
Yeah,
Or
something like that. It takes like 2 or 3 years to actually complete it. To actually play
Yeah.
it, to do the whole thing. You do the whole campaign, don't you?
Yeah.
Back in the day, there used to be one called The Longest Day, which was the entire D-Day landings on board game.
Oh
And
wow.
it literally covered, I can't remember how long, about 12-foot long boards, and about 4 foot deep. And it carried. You could either play just elements of it, like you could play the Pegasus Bridge or whatever, the raid on the whatever the point was called, or you could do Sword Beach, or you could do the entire campaign in one go.
Huh.
And like back in the day when I was a student, this thing cost like 50 quid, which is back in old money, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I probably can't get it anymore, but that was a classic game, absolute classic game. I only knew one person who had it, and we played a bit of it, but it was massive, so much fun.
That's another aspect of board games as well. Like, is obviously the most expensive one I've ever bought is Gloomhaven, which was 120. But with that,
Jeez.
I've got about I think there's about 90 missions, but they're roughly an hour each. So you're talking a lot of hours you've paid for there. You've got a good investment, Whereas obviously with wargaming, there's another big shout out for the initial cost, isn't it? So maybe that puts some people off, So maybe just showing a board game off might get them into a bit more of the rolling the dice.
Yeah, Kill Team's quite good for that for 40k, isn't it? It's small. That's why
Yeah.
skirmish games are so massive, aren't they? Skirmish games, like.
Well, I think that's exactly it. I mean, that's why there's been such a trend towards those sort of games. It's easy, to Leslie's points, easy entry into the games, particularly from people who are used to doing Games Workshop type stuff. It's you look at it and think, oh, okay, to buy a game where I can have enough figures to play a game, the rule book for 30 quid or something to get on with, or 50 quid or something to go on with, it's sort of affordable, and you think, oh, that's easy enough. And the rules nowadays, the complexity of them is definitely downplayed, much to the chagrin of many people. Want to have real historical fantasy, really complicated rules. But the bonus of that is it's very easy to pick up, and it's a lot quicker to play, and it's not that expensive to play, really, especially with plastic figures. But I guess it's the same in board games, right? There's expensive ones and cheap ones, and some. I guess if you get 90 hours play out of it for 100 quid, I mean, what is it with a computer game? I don't think you get anywhere near that kind of amount of play.
No,
for
not many
probably
of them.
a lot more, similar amount anyway.
Mm.
So it's interesting. How do you split your time though? Because you like figure gaming, you like board gaming. What the
It's
hell
hard
do you
when
have
you
time to do all this?
It is hard when you got Ken breathing down your neck to paint minis.
You
And you just want to play a 90-hour game, but it can be tricky sometimes. But yeah,
and he
sometimes.
plays D&D, don't you?
Yeah,
And you play fucking D&D, jeez.
I know. I do split my time quite a bit.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
That's another one as well. D&D is just smashed. Like, there's people playing it. I play with my next door neighbours. And one of them plays computer games, but the other one's, very casual. Play some sort of basic computer games, but I was very surprised when they decided they wanted to play D&D, but they're really into it now. And I wouldn't have
That
expected.
seems to me to have a massive resurgence. I don't know whether it's just me paying more attention to it, but I see so much more D&D stuff now than I ever used to.
It's got a
really
very
funny.
easy access edition. Fifth Ed is probably one of the best editions I've ever played because it's easy to access, but it also still has the real big role play elements left in it. The last edition was very combat based, so it did tend to be just we go in there and slay everything. Whereas this one there's a good balance between that and the role play aspect of things, and it's very easy to pick up this time.
Because I mean, I mentioned this before, so sorry if I'm repeating myself, but many moons ago, when I was starting out as a kid at school, playing toy soldiers and whatnot, I did play a fair bit of D&D, and I think I had the old rule books, and they were good fun, but it was so reliant on somebody spending an awful lot of time to set it all up and GM it and what have you, and it was like, and then you know, if your buddy who enjoyed doing that, you kind of found girls or something and didn't want to do it, then you were fucked. You couldn't, it was that was that, and it sort of. So I remember thinking, oh right, okay, well that's sort of screwed that, because I wasn't actually great at doing that. I quite enjoyed doing it from time to time, but I wasn't brilliant at it. But some people just have a real knack of doing the GM bit, and so I just never really did. So, but I always assumed it had just sort of died out because it was very much a
well, it did for a long time.
Thing. Yeah.
But
interesting.
You'd be surprised how many people play it now. It's quite cool. It's nice because I used to struggle to find groups, and to be fair, I didn't play it for a long period of time. Actually, probably about 10 years, and it wasn't until recently that they kind of mentioned it to me. Oh, we're buying the starter set, and then suddenly loads of people were just talking to me about it, and I was just like, oh, okay, so. I'll be DM if obviously they haven't got experience, so I'll sort of take that on. Some of them actually wanted to be DM straight away, which is quite nice because I get to be both. So we're just running loads of separate little stories.
Back in the day, there used to be things. I don't even know if it still exists. It was called Traveller, which was a sort of space version of it. I don't know whether that's still around.
Yeah,
Traveller.
Pathfinder, which is sort of a rival to D&D, has something called Starfinder, which is basically that. And there are rule sets for the D&D sort of rules to port over to that sort of setting, which is quite cool. Pretty much any setting you want, in fact. There's one for sort of like an ancient Greek gods mythology sort of area, which
nice. That sounds fun.
Has got a bit of mythic sort of stuff to it, but it's fairly grounded. But yeah, you can find anything now.
So how does it work though with the figures? Because I see some beautiful figures, and there's a lot of Kickstarters of figures for D&D, and a lot of 3D printing of 3D printing of D&D stuff. That's hard to say. But do you actually? Because again, back when my sole experience of D&D, apart from computer game versions of it, was literally someone had graph paper and they drew out a dungeon, and then when you were doing your one, you followed it with your own piece of graph paper, and there's no real models involved. Maybe you just had one just to simulate your figure, your character. But it seems like now they actually play proper games like it would around buildings, and it's like there's that one with Frostgrave with the actually sort of proper, almost like a war game, but an RPG version of it. Is that how it works?
Yeah. So you can still play the old school one of just explaining things to people. Not having any miniatures at all. But we tend to do a part thing. So if we haven't got buildings for something or something to represent it, we'll just say this. We'll just speak through it. This is the area you're in. What do you want to do? But yeah, there are so many options now. Kickstarter, I've just signed up to one to get 200 minis for 50 quid.
200?
Yeah, they smashed their goals massively. So yeah, they're making a lot of minis. About 200 minis, I think, getting it, which involves sort of low. The good thing about it I liked was you don't just get one goblin, you get 5, so you can actually have an encounter. Whereas a lot of the stuff from WizKids, which is the D&D official miniatures, you only get 2, and it's like that's not enough, for an encounter, and that's 2 for like £10 sometimes. So it's not big enough. And then they've got random blister packs as well, which are pre-painted minis.
Mm-hmm.
Which yeah, they're good, but then you don't know what you're going to get. So if you're planning something specific, you can't plan for that. Which isn't good. But now with 3D printing coming out and Kickstarter, you can get loads of really cool sets.
Interesting.
It's definitely evolved a lot more now. A lot more
Leslie
options.
reckons you're bored, Ken, so we better move on to something else.
Yeah.
I forgot. To be honest, I completely forgot. I was just in my own little world. I'm trying to do this bloody
He
thing.
wants to try D&D though, didn't you? You said you wanted to try D&D at some point.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do want to give it a go because I like using my imagination to recreate stuff. That's why I like fantasy. I think because I just like using my imagination. It's one of my favourite things to do, to be honest with you. That's why I like wargaming so much. I like imagining the battle and stuff, and that's why I like listening to audiobooks because I can just picture it in my head. I know a lot of people can do that while they're reading, but I can't do it while I'm reading because I'm dyslexic. So it's I can't get the flow of reading a book as other people can. My missus can just read it and it would just flow, and she can. I have to read a sentence maybe twice sometimes to read it properly, if that makes sense. So I can read it, but then I might not get the whole sentence in that one go, and there might be a word missing. So then I read it again and then get it, and I'm like, fuck's sake. So it's not how you read a book. So that's why I prefer audiobooks.
No, I get that. My oldest daughter's dyslexic, so it's tough. All these things are very difficult. Audibles do help a lot.
Yeah,
because they're
massively.
just. I'm not dyslexic, but I love listening to audibles. I sit around.
Oh, they're
got one
awesome.
at the moment. I'm listening to it. It's just absolutely loving it. I can't stop listening to it.
Yeah, that's the thing though. Like I used to do it all the time on a hobby, and the problem is I hobby too much, so I backed off a little bit because when you listen to when you listen to a 16-hour audiobook in 2 days, and you're like, shit, that was I've been probably doing this a bit too long, and I'm gonna get shouted at. It's one of those things. Or I went.
The one problem with audibles that I think I've discovered last night again
Go on.
well, I knew it, but was I went to bed last night listening to an audible book,
Fell asleep. Yeah,
which is never a good thing to do because you fall asleep and then you realise you've missed about 16 chapters and no idea what point you got to before you fell asleep. It's like I woke up at 2:00.
No,
and I thought, oh shit.
I always, to be honest with you, if I can't sleep, I put it in because I fall asleep to it for some reason. Just weird. But I'll tell you something. I didn't go out and buy an airbrush and get shouted at.
Oh, that's a great
no.
Shame.
Let's get back to the figures then. So, Leon's show. I was watching our old co-host Leon doing a video the other day where he got some new 15mm figures that he was going to do a Napoleonic 15mm project, and I very nearly went and bought some myself, and I just thought, no, stop it. You've got far too many. I've got so many up in the loft to bring down and rebase and redo that. But any new projects on the horizon?
Yep.
Come on, what are you planning?
I've got a secret one.
You start, Ken, because otherwise you'll check your emails again.
I wasn't actually. I was on Facebook and I was looking on the board game exchange to see if I could find that board game for the longest day. Because I just looked it up.
Cool.
And I looked it up and it looks quite good. So I was like, "Oh, that sounds interesting."
Is it on Tabletop Simulator?
No, I've checked. It's not. But no, two projects. One that's a secret, which no one will know about. I've actually Liam knows about it, but that's it. So, obviously,
the board.
Yeah. The board
knows about it.
Yeah, the board knows about it. Yeah, as well. Board, you twat. I just got that reference. I thought you meant the board build, but you didn't. You meant the board as in chairman, CEO Liam, the silent partner.
The silent partner.
Yeah. But no, the other one is ACW 6mm. I'm waiting for Backer 6mm to open up to buy ACW American Civil War in 6mm, the Confederate and the Union Army. I think that's going to be my next project.
Yep.
Guess what you're
That's a
going
good
to play?
option.
Guess
I
what
think it'll
you're
be good in
guess,
6 mil as well.
Yeah, because you've got loads of units. Guess what you're playing, Liam?
Yeah, I don't remember this passing the board meeting. Definitely don't remember this. Board approval was not sought.
No, it wasn't.
I
It
would,
was.
I would take it to the board and have a proper formal review of this decision, Liam, if I was you.
We can't. The CAF's closed at the minute, isn't it? It's lockdown.
Yeah, you can't be up.
Jeez.
But yeah, no.
That sounds like fun. I must admit, 6 mil ACW would be quite a good period to do.
Yeah,
Um,
you can paint
that'd
loads of troops.
fun.
The way I thought about it is, it's not going to take long to paint. It's not going to take long to base, and both armies together and the rules, 95 quid.
Is this like a starter set, is it? Or is it?
No, it's the whole thing. It's like a whole Eastern. It's the whole Union Eastern Army and the Confederate Army that they fought against.
Oh, yeah, of course. We're talking. What sort of scale is this? Sorry?
6
15?
mil. 6 mil.
6 mil. Oh, God, 6 mil.
You love the 6 mil model, Liam.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a space marine.
Oh, here we go. He hasn't mentioned this for a while. So far we've had dwarves. We've had the other one he hasn't mentioned yet. It's contrast paints, but
No, I don't know.
he's on to his 6 mil Space Marines again.
Hello,
Yeah,
Warhammer.
I think you slipped a few little contrast bits in there, Dom, just to sort of see if you'd take the bait.
I did actually. I set them up and he didn't go for it.
No.
Complete cheap.
Miniature Wargaming
I think because
Warriors.
he's on
home,
meltdown.
Yeah, Miniature Wargaming Warriors, the home of historical contrast painting.
Aye. Yeah, no. Well, Leslie says blocks of wood. I don't. I think some of the 6 mil is fantastic. There are some really nice 6 mil.
Oh yeah, they're really
back in the
nice
day, again,
scopes.
there were some really poor ones, but now I think there's some really nice. Some of them are, you can get a fair amount of detail on something so
Yeah.
tiny. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's not so much the detail. It's just being able to play a massive army in a smaller scale because I can control more units. That's why I like it. That's pretty much.
Well, we used to play. We used to play ACW 15 mils, and that was good.
Yeah, but they
so
they took ages to paint, didn't they?
I think I bought most of them painted online and then just tarted them up a bit, to be absolutely honest. But yeah, I mean, in theory, yes, they should. But yeah, you're right.
That's what I mean. That's the whole point of the 6 mil is it's just quick to paint and
Nice and easy. Yeah, you're right.
Something I haven't got to use a lot of brain power for, you know.
No, I got you. I understand that.
Quick projects.
On point,
They're the best.
do some 15 mil airborne for Command and Conquer. That's good. Yeah, 15 mil. Hang on, you're not doing German again. What the hell? Leslie's doing Portuguese 28 mil for sharp practice. I've got a load of. I nearly got some out today to start making up because I've got a load of sprues of Portuguese infantry. I must get them out and start
Dom,
them.
what,
I thought,
what,
no, I'm going to be
what
just.
haven't you got, Dom?
That garage.
Good question.
It's a treasure
Good
trove.
question. It is a treasure trove. and as Lizzie says, ships. Yes, I have to finish off the last couple of ships. Quite right. But yeah, I mean, Ken, you must be well advanced with your ships by now.
Oh yeah, so he has got miniatures to paint.
They're not miniatures. They're the devil in Reincarnate. That's what they are.
Brilliant.
I want to
Liam,
play.
what are you working on then? What are you doing?
So these tanks are I keep saying it. They're going to be the last of the Soviets.
Are they fucked?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know. I may end up getting maybe an SU for them later on, but for now, that's it, done. And then I'm going to probably get the 8th Army or a British Expeditionary Force, and then I might think about Hail Caesar, which probably will be a couple of months away, but I really want that Roman starter set.
Really want that Roman starter set. Yeah.
So you going Roman? Oh, you disappointed.
Oh, don't start. He was Roman.
Guys.
He was I'm gonna go Greeks if I'm gonna play. I'm gonna do some sort of Greeks.
Good
yeah.
thinking.
Spartans would be my second.
Nah, not Spartans. More phalanxy. You know, I want my phalanxes. I want pikes. I want to shove them in your
I like
face.
Athenians.
so there's two races I don't know much. I don't like playing very much in wargaming. French, which anyone down at Farnborough will know. I won't play French. Not that I don't like the French. Sorry, Leslie. I know you're not French, but you're in France. So I love the French. They're great in their own country, but they're fantastic. But I don't like playing their nation in any games. I don't know why. I never have done. And Romans, same. Absolutely love what the Romans do. I'm fascinated by their history, but I'm really not into Roman in wargaming. Don't know why. Never have been.
Well, I hope they play as I want them to play, which the machine, the churning machine, just shield, stab, move forward.
Compared to
But
SPQR.
Compared, yeah, yeah, that's exactly it. Just spoil everything that game. I was just like, oh, that's not how they should play.
The salt
Doesn't make sense.
The salt was fucking real that game. How can this was Liam, how can naked Celts go up against Romans and still get 160 dice? What's going on?
It's just weird, wasn't it? You just had to get more dice, I thought there'd be some mechanic in there to say, you've got less dice, but you're more skillful with them dice, but there's not,
No.
Weird.
No.
But if you're naked, apparently that's fine. You get more.
You smack your willy around the heads, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I mean, well, we won't go on to whole SPQR. That was just diabolical.
We've done that.
But that was the one good thing about it, was how easy it was to kill the Romans.
Yeah, it was nice.
But it's weird. I don't know what it is. I don't. Do you have that kind of thing about different nations? I say the Romans. It's like I really like Romano Brits. That whole period of history, I love playing, and I like the Byzantines. That's fun. But the Romans, does not excite me in the slightest, and I don't know why, because I love the history of Rome. I think I'd love been to Rome a few times.
Even if it was the late period when they started, being on the back foot, and they weren't the scary ones,
A little bit in
not
there.
appeal?
I like those sort of. I quite like the later period cavalry-heavy armies. That was kind of fun. But that's sort of heading into the Byzantine period more than anything else, isn't it? Maybe that's why I like that. But
a struggling period.
I'll tell you the one.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Don't like to be the people who are gonna win, the underdogs. You want to be the underdogs.
I don't like.
But then I like the British, so
Yeah.
In the Olympics, I love them, and they win, so it's fine.
Yeah. I don't like in the Crusades the actual Crusading Knights. I just don't like that period in general. I don't think for wargaming. Like Liam loves it, don't you? You love the Templars and stuff. Don't you?
I've seen a few of them Templar models that I think you painted, Dom, and I was like,
it's not
definitely do that.
It's not my cup of tea. I think they're a bit I don't know, just a bit boring.
Is it because it's boring, or is it just you don't like that whole period of I don't know. I'm intrigued.
I don't know. It's just I think I find it a bit boring, to be honest. The biblical period, Jerusalem and all that, just fighting over a city. All right, okay, that sounds fun. And that's pretty much all it is.
There's so much more than that. It's so much more than that. Yeah. See you, Leslie. Have a good night, mate. I'm just reading this at the moment, which is the Hospitallers' history, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
Really, really interesting. I did not know this. Little known fact: Hospitaller Knights, one of the 3 original military orders, came out of Jerusalem. They're still in existence today. Do you know?
Masons, aren't they? Freemasons.
No.
Yeah.
I thought they were
John's Ambulance.
St. John's Ambulance.
St. John's Ambulance.
Of course, they got the cross.
Yeah. You said the cross. Yeah. St. John's Ambulance. There's another couple of groups elsewhere. Yeah.
Liam, there you go. Go
That's
and try
right,
St.
that's
John's,
how-
mate. You'll be happy. You'll be a Knights Templar.
Should wear that cross. Like Templar.
Oh, don't even start.
I think I don't know that whole period. I'm amazed by that
Ken, because I just think that whole period. I'm going to have to find you some interesting books to listen on Audible on that, because
Maybe it's because I don't know a lot
that
about
period
it.
is fascinating, absolutely
There was
fascinating.
a lot of
Do you know
secrecy,
that?
wasn't there, around that time? Like a lot of things, people trying to grab power grabs and.
Well, just you think the whole scale of that thing. So there is Western governments, inverted commas, monarchies, decide they're going to go thousands of miles away from their lands into completely unknown territory in a completely different environment to what they used to in the days before any kind of proper communications or anything else, and they carve out a huge empire country around Jerusalem and all the associated territories. It went a long way down the coast. It went a long way down to where Israel is now, and what have you. I mean,
Jordan.
quite a
and all that.
sizable territory, and they held on to it for decades under constant attack by the Saracens, by the different Muslim forces in the area, and they were all fighting each other as well. So there was a whole the politics between, what Saladin did, who's a classic Saracen leader. He managed to unite all these different Muslim states to take on the Crusaders. But up to then, they were all fighting each other as much as they were the Crusaders. And so at the same time, you got new reinforcements of Crusaders coming out on this holy, mission
Crusade.
to save their souls. And eventually, of course, they lose everything. But I think it's absolutely fascinating, as you say, Liam. There's a whole the political, the espionage. You got assassins. You got all kinds of stuff going on. It's amazing.
Blue on blue, like you say, they're against each other as well as the enemy.
I mean, there's a classic guy, Prince of Antioch, which was one of the main sort of city-states, if you like, of that territory. And, to preserve himself, he actually let a Muslim army through his territory to attack another area of the Christian state. Yeah. It's like, it's just extraordinary stories. But I think that whole period is fascinating to me. The military side is actually the least interesting in many ways, because it's fairly boring, actually. But the political and the historical side of it, I find fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
And they have got some beautiful armor as well. And definitely for a painting project, I definitely would do that. I think.
I agree.
Nice Templar.
Oh Christ!
But it's
I didn't even notice the time was.
it's 10 o'clock, mate.
Yeah.
You're gonna be in trouble again.
Yeah.
We'll have to. That's the only rules he has in his house.
Yeah, we'll have to wrap it up.
Yeah.
We will have to wrap it up.
We will have to wrap it up. Okay, shall I wrap up then?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, time to track on. I noticed the viewer numbers are dropping, so it obviously was the right time to wrap up. So thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate you joining us. We'll be back. All things. Oh yeah, let's have a look. There's the T.
Yeah, it is built, and I've done it with the old square fuel.
Yeah.
Is it a fuel tank on the back? Oh no, stowage. Isn't it? Stowage. Oh, there's a fuel tank.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can have the tankers
Yeah.
sometimes.
I'll pay you.
Okay.
I'll pay you
Yeah.
free. He's done.
41 roughly. It's a 41 model. Stalingrad. Cast turret, which was apparently more widespread at the start, but they were very weak, so they went with the welds afterwards.
There we go.
It's the one.
And that's what I
Informative
learned.
as well as lots of stuff. Brilliant.
Rubicon plug.
Free. Very nice.
And I've started building.
I've done about half of my. Oh, nice.
Start building.
Nice job. I'm not going to pick mine up because they're all gluing here and they'll fall apart, and then I'll be really annoyed. I'll drop them on the floor again. Brilliant. But thanks for watching. We'll be back hopefully
next Monday.
If the world doesn't come to an end next Monday, same time, same place. Thanks for watching.
See you later, guys.
See you soon.
Cheers.